Technical Tuesday for CyberGamut. This one is co-sponsored by CyberGamut and Capital College. And if you notice down in the lower left there, if you have a Twitter account now, I do. I haven't figured out how to get the CyberGamut one. But if you're going to tweet about this, please do it with the hashtag CyberGamut. And big news, just recently, less than a week or so now, we've got CyberGamut.com out there. You should be able to go to that now and find out about upcoming CyberGamut events. Challenge coins, I know I caught most of you out in the entryway, but if you didn't get a challenge coin, I've got some left out there. Feel free to pick one up. What you want to do is show up on time with your coin, and you're eligible for a raffle. We'll do the raffle at the end of the presentation. Got the cards and stickers out there as well.
I don't hear it.
And at this point, I'll introduce Briggs from Capital College.
Startup or something?
Is it coming through the center?
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Whether you're at a note here or here in the auditorium, we appreciate you to Capital College. This is my contact information listed here. I'm a graduate recruiter here at Capital College. We're happy to have you all here. Capital College started in 1927. We're an advanced school that produced talented radio and electrician technologists back in 1927, and since then we've progressed as technology has. Capital College is a non-profit, and we're regionally accredited by the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. I think that is the next slide. Yes, good. So, right, founded in 1927, non-profit institution, regionally accredited. We are NSA and DHS nationally designated Center of Academic Excellence in Information Assurance Education, so we know what we're doing with our programs. And we offer a total of 12 bachelor's degrees, 7 master's degrees, and 1 doctoral degree. The doctoral degree is in cybersecurity information assurance. All of our master's degrees are taught online in real time, so we use the same platform as we're using today. So everybody here in the auditorium, everybody at the nodes, this is exactly what your classes will look like. And you'll be hearing your professor, much like you'll be hearing Jesse today, and then you can ask questions and be interactive like that during the class time. Today I understand that if you do have questions at the nodes, please wait until the end of the presentation to ask them, and you can ask them in the text chat versus speaking back and forth. But in classes, if you come to Capital College, you speak back and forth. With the doctoral program, with IA, it is a 3-year-long program. It is taught online, much like the master's degrees are, with an addition of 1 residency weekend per year. So a total of 3 weekends to come on campus, but otherwise it's entirely online. So if you're interested in enrolling in any of the programs, or getting involved in Capital as a corporate partner with your company, or if you have any foundational grants or things like that, we'd love to talk with you, so please feel free to contact me, or of course, contact Capital in another way. So thank you all for coming.
One other thing I forgot to announce, I've got the brochures out there for the MDC3. This is the cyber conference in Baltimore this weekend. I hope you can make it to that. And then the other thing is, Jesse has agreed with this fancy system that we're using now. We can record these, and there should be a link on CyberGamut.com for this presentation if you want to refer someone to it or see it again. So Technical Tuesdays are a technical exchange. They are not a sales presentation or a product endorsement, and they're not for discussion of any procurements or procurement-related information. The other thing we've got out there is the certification letters for PDUs, if you're a PMP, or CISSP CPEs, you can self-certify with those. We have the attendance letter. Got another letter out there that's more generic. If you need that, or anything else, please let me know. We do have CyberGamut nodes set up this time. I see Georgia, which this is the first time in Augusta, Georgia. Socorro, New Mexico, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, San Antonio, Texas, and Northern Virginia have been on before. I think they're all on. I hope so, and hopefully they can hear. I got a call saying that Mike went silent, but I think that's because we muted on this end for a little while. And if you or one of your colleagues would like to host a node, if it's reasonably speaking more than an hour away on a Tuesday afternoon, I'm open to that idea. And you just need to basically be open to having people from across industry, government, and academia show up at your location and have the right facilities, usually an internet connection, sometimes a phone line, to be able to get the slides in the audio. Always looking for additional speakers with topics. This is a list of some of the topics I'd love to see speakers on. And if you would like to speak or know someone who would, please have them send me an email. At this point, I don't have any others scheduled. I do have I think a reasonable date on the 15th of November. I've got 2 or 3 people I'm talking to about possibly having one. And so it could maybe be penciled in, but not inked in yet. Don't have a speaker lined up yet for the 15th of November, but hoping to. And that brings us to today's topic. Today, Jesse Varsalone is going to present to us a talk on hacking Windows 7 and defending against physical attacks. With that, Jesse.
That's good use of technology there. Not having to drive to Northern Virginia. That can't get any better. All right. So anyway, we've got pretty much, this is a presentation. It's not going to be a death by PowerPoint. I'm going to show you some hands-on stuff. But first, I'll tell you a little bit about myself here. Oh, let me go ahead and make sure our users in the can see this as well. All right, here we go. Okay, so basically, hacking Windows 7 and defending against physical attacks, and that's me. So, first thing I'd like to show everyone is, how do we get good at this stuff? How do we become security experts or stuff like that? We usually have to set something like that up in our house. So that's what I did. So, I had Linux, I had Mac, I had removable hard drives, a bunch of old computers there, and lots of CDs, wireless stuff, whatever you need. So basically, most of the people that do very well in this field are people that are very passionate about that. Hey Dave, can you see I actually have 2 floppies in that? When I installed it, I didn't realize at the time that it was actually slower to have 2 than 1. But yeah, so basically, all the stuff is in the dump now, and I've got a wife, we can't have this kind of stuff anymore. So I use VMware. So, all right. So these are some of my older books that I've had. Oh, yes, sir. Hold the mic. How about if I speak?
No, that would be better. I'm afraid that people down reading are.
Okay, so basically, some of this is a pretty old picture, but books from when I taught the Microsoft curriculum. Some of the other books, as people that teach college, you're able to get books for free. So as you can see, I took advantage of this. Also, you'll see here there's lots of CDs and stuff. They always said, if I ever committed a crime, that it would be a nightmare for the forensics investigators because they have to go through every CD and look for stuff. So. All right, so these are some of the schools that I've been to and some of the schools that I've taught at. Currently now, I'm planning to be there for a long time. I'm at CCBC. Down the road, we teach hands-on stuff. We have great instructors like Casey and Dave that have a lot of experience in the field, and it's a really good learning environment. And a lot of our students go on to Capital College, so we have a good relationship because they're one of the few that has a 4-year degree program that matches up with our security program. So you always have to learn in this field. There's never a time where you get your degree and you say, I'm done, no more training for me. All right, so here are some of my certification exams. It looks impressive, but to be honest with you, I haven't passed one since 2007. The reason why I haven't passed one is I took the CIS class, and if you've ever taken that obviously most of you have, that kind of wears you out. So no more certs for me for a while. All right, now, the kind of guy I am, I hacked my iPhone, I hacked my Wii. Some people ask me, they say, why did you hack your Wii? Well, the reason is my son. I know he's smart. Everybody says their kids are smart, but mine is because he uses a Mac. So this is just a little bit about my background. I've actually been teaching for 18 years. My recent job, I taught in network intrusions with Dave over there at for basically the Department of Defense. We taught exploitation, all types of stuff. All right, and then recently I was involved as a red teamer with the CCDC, which is the college cyber defense competition, Capital College, right here in the front row. They were all a part of it, and it was a lot of fun. We all learned a great deal, didn't we? And I had a lot of fun hacking your college, especially. All right, so now on to the presentation. So we see this log on the screen here. And here's Windows 7. All right, so this is the log on screen, which may be a barrier to some people because you have to know what to get past this. The password, right? So there are several things you can do right now, even though you don't have the password. One of them is sticky keys by hitting Shift 5 times. And the other one is down here in the corner. These are the accessibility options. Those are for people with vision problems or some type of impairment. You can launch that. And the other thing that Dave will tell you will launch after a couple minutes is the screensaver, sometimes on some systems. So if there was any way that we could replace any of those files with some other file, we would be able to hack into the system. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to go ahead and boot up to Backtrack. It's a live CD. Backtrack is basically for pen testing, but some people say hacking. But I don't need Backtrack. I can use any CD at all, any live CD or any CD that has NTFS support. So I'm going to go ahead and restart the system. And we're going to watch how I replace the files and how I pull this hack off. And as you know, most people in the security field will tell you, if you have physical access, there's not really much you can do to protect yourself. All right, so this is booting up to Backtrack as we speak. So I'm actually doing a live demo here, so you can all see how this is all done. This only takes a second to boot up. How many of you used Backtrack before? All right, it's good. A lot of the guys were using it as on the red team at CCDC. It's good for doing pen testing or hacking or those types of things. Right, so in a second I'm going to be logging in as the root account. Now I'm using Backtrack 4 Beta. Some of you may say there's better versions of Backtrack. There's 5 out. There's, this one specifically is good because it auto-mounts the file system. So root is the username, 4 is the password, and then I type startx. And you can download this from the internet, this CD. It's a DVD nowadays. Let's see if I can get control of the mouse here. Here we go. Right. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a terminal. And what I'm going to do is look at my partitioning on my system. So in order to do that, I'm going to type fdisk space-L. Okay, so basically, with all Windows 7 systems, they have a little tiny small boot partition, and then they have all this stuff. That's where Windows and all your program files and all the good stuff is. So I'm going to navigate to the directory that that's mounted to, and go in there and change some files. So now Linux is case sensitive, so when I do this, I have to be aware of that. And if I just do ls right here, there you can see there's the Windows directory. Everybody see that? So I'm going to go into Windows. and then I'll go into System 32. What's System 32? Anybody? That's the place where most of the executables for Windows are stored. If I type ls, you'll see there's a lot of executables in there, and DLLs and all that other stuff. So anyway, what I need to do now is I'm going to change those files. What were the things that we could do before we logged in? What could we launch? Sticky keys. What else? The accessibilities. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, you remember how to rename a file in Linux, Dave? It's the move command. And I'm just going to call this, I'll rename the command and call it .old. And I can do the same thing with the sticky keys file, which is setseek. So I had to know the name of these going in. Alright, so there we go. I renamed those files. And this is good, if you're doing some type of covert operation, you can rename the file, and then you can rename this file back later so no one knows you did anything. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy one of your favorite files and rename that the new file. Alright, so what is cmd.exe? Alright, and then I can do the same thing with setseek. And I'm going to do one more thing because I like quality assurance, I guess. I just want to make sure that I did this right. And I can do that by using a hash. So I'm going to type md5 cmd.exe. It will give me a hash for that. md5 so different version of Backtrack, for Steam versions and stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to do md5 sum of utilman. Just to check. Are they the same? What do you guys think? What's the chance that they're not the same? Anybody happen to know off the top of their head? Yeah. Okay, so I've renamed the files. Everybody see that? Alright, now I'm going to shut it down gracefully. Because if you know anything about Linux, not only does it have a case-sensitive problem, but it's got another problem. If you just turn Linux off or pull things out, sometimes it doesn't actually sync with the disk. So that's an important step. Alright, so it's all shut down now. That didn't take long. This is a fast computer, courtesy of CCBC. Alright, so I'm going to boot this thing up. Go to view full screen. So what do you think we're going to be doing in a couple seconds here? Yeah, we're going to launch sticky keys or the utility manager. And when we launch them, instead of getting some type of help or a sticky keys message, we'll get cmd.exe. So it just goes to show you, in theory, if this works for me, that physical access, if you have that, it's very easy to bypass. And the other thing I wanted to mention, this also works on systems with fingerprint readers and smart card readers. So it doesn't just work on them. All right, so right here, everybody see right here, this button down here? This is a button you can just click on to launch the utility manager. So I'll just click on the button. And what came up? Now, recently in the last week, I figured this out. For audiences, I can make this font a little bigger. All right, I can go bigger than that. Everybody see that? Okay, now I'm in, or am I? I'm not really in yet. Now what can I do? Create user accounts. One of the things that I've seen hackers do is take the guest account and do what with it? Make it active. Okay? Now they can log in as guest. Well, not really. They didn't give guest a password. What password do you want them to This is a good one. All right, now, let's add them to the administrative group. Wouldn't that be a good idea? And I've actually seen this done by attackers before. Okay, so now guest is an administrator. We can log in as the guest account. For those of you who say, you know what, this is not for me. I'm not a command line person. I was studying my whole life and I will never use that. That's okay. You can use Loser Manager. Just type L-U-S-R-M. I didn't mean it like that, but I just call it Loser Manager. So there's Loser Manager. There we go. The old-fashioned way. I'll just right-click on the administrator. I can give him a password. Now, why is the administrator disabled? Does that make sense to anyone? This is a default install of Windows 7. Anybody know why he's disabled? Yes. Starting with Vista, Microsoft decided, because basically the way I can explain it is because people are logging in willy-nilly as administrators, surfing the internet, getting their systems owned with all this malware, they disabled the administrator, and then they had that user account control. So every time you try to do something, it says, are you sure you want to do this? That was Microsoft's idea to secure it. So yeah, you can do that. You can do all types of things. Another thing that you could do, one other thing before we go there. Let's find out what user we are. Anybody know who system is? Is that a high level of user? I thought administrator was the highest. Is this higher than administrator? Do people usually become the system account in normal situations? Alright, yeah, people don't become that, so something a little funny is going on here, and we're actually the system account. So what that really means for you smart code people is that the Microsoft has decided to run the sticky keys as the system account. That's what they decided to do. So by taking advantage of that, we do that. We can do some other things here too. We can turn off the firewall. And one of my other there it goes. The other thing is, I like to enable remote desktop in case this person wants to, work from home or something. You can do all kinds of fun things like that. All right, so now, the next question is, how do we defend against this kind of stuff? All right, well, I'll show you one more thing. Anybody know what that command does? That brings up Windows Explorer. Now, what's odd about the fact that Windows Explorer is being brought up right now? We've still got the login screen here. Weird things happen when people hack. Right, Dave? Weird things happen. And when you're doing this kind of hacking, as Dave would say, I stole from him, you can't call the help desk. Right, Dave? So look at this. And if I click on the Perl, which is start, look at who I am. System. So it's kind of weird. All right, let's just log in as a regular user and talk about how we're going to secure this system. Alright, so we're going to use something to secure the system called BitLocker. Who's heard of BitLocker? Okay. It encrypts basically the volume, not the disk. And basically, to use BitLocker, you have to have either Windows 7 Ultimate or Windows 7 Enterprise or Vista Enterprise or Vista Ultimate. So those versions cost a lot of money. I have a video for you that can talk about that. Are you guys going to show the video back there, or should I go ahead and do that? It's the Windows 7 video. So where am I sharing it?
PC, and it's time to play Choose a Vista.
What's going on?
Well, Vista comes in 6... And I'm a PC, and it's time to play Choose a Vista.
What's going on?
Well, Vista comes in 6 different versions, and I don't know which to choose. I could spend a lot of money and get a version that has a lot of stuff I don't need, or spend too little and get stuck with one that doesn't do very much at all.
My master's had one version with all the stuff you need already.
Well, that's boring. This is fun. Come on, big operating system, big operating system. Daddy needs an upgrade.
Didn't you make this? Hello, I'm Mac.
I'm a PC, and it's time to play Choose a Vista.
So that basically was a shame we stopped making those videos. Okay, so I believe I'm back up now. And now I'm going to show you how to enable BitLocker. Now the first thing you might think, I can't use BitLocker, I need a TPM chip, which is a trusted platform module. You actually don't need one of those chips in your system. You can use it with just a USB stick. So having BitLocker will secure your system against these types of physical attacks I just demonstrated. So I'll show you how to enable it. The first thing I need to do is type gpedit.msc. That's the group policy manager. And I go into group policy because it's not the default setting. And to enable BitLocker, I go to Windows Settings, Administrative Templates, Windows Components. There's a couple settings in here, one or two. All right, BitLocker, and then Operating System Drives. And I just click this first policy right here, and I click Enable. It allows BitLocker without a TPM, which is a trusted platform module. That actually ties your computer's disk to the hardware. You know, a lot of us can't afford to have those in our system. So now I just type BitLocker, and then I just click Turn on BitLocker. Okay, so now I require a startup key, so I need that USB stick to run BitLocker. I did insert the disk. Just give it a second here. Oops, that one has Linux on it. Okay, so it's this one. There we go. You know, VMware is good for demos, usually. All right. There we go. Yay, it showed up. All right, I just wanted to click next anyway. It's not like I'm going to use BitLocker on this VM now. Okay, so click that. Click Save. Now I'm going to print the recovery key. All right, so I'm just going to name this. I'll pick the Microsoft default printer. And I'll just name this, I'll save it on the desktop, and I'll name this home, or key. That's a little bit more appropriate. Okay, so now, here's the key file. So you guys can take a look at it. Ooh, that's okay. I can view it on my, So after that, I can click Next. Hold on, it's catching up. I think we're supposed to be hearing it. You want me to just show it on my system? All right, I'll show it. Okay, here we go. It's going full screen in a second. You guys hear that or not? All right, I'll put a link to that video. Can't get it? You guys can't hear that?
The memory fades away gradually over a period of less. The data.
All right, let's just get the video. All right. So anyway,
Encryption product. These attacks are surprisingly practical, typically taking only a few
well,
minutes.
I think you know what it is. There's a little bit of lag.
In most cases, the computer must be on or in sleep mode, but some disk encryption products are vulnerable even if the computer is completely off. If an encrypted computer is stolen, or even if it's just left unattended for a short time, a thief can use our attacks to find the disk encryption keys and unscramble the data. Our attacks exploit a little-known property of computer RAM, the memory where data is stored while it is being used. What happens to data in a computer's RAM when the power goes out? Most people, even many experts, will tell you that it's erased. But the truth is more complex. The data stored in RAM fades away gradually over a period of seconds to minutes. In most computers, we can read what's left by booting a simple startup program. We loaded this image into RAM. Here's what happens after we cut the power. The bits fade gradually and in a predictable way. In this case, the final pattern is a series of horizontal bars. Different memory chips fade at different rates, but most take seconds to fade. We can make them fade more slowly by cooling the chips before cutting power. When we hold this common duster spray can upside down, very cold liquid comes out, cooling the RAM to around -50°C. Once it has been cooled, we can even remove the RAM from the computer without disrupting the contents. Here's what happens if we keep the chips cold. Even after 10 minutes, very few bits have faded, and we can even use a different computer to read them. With brief physical access to a computer, these techniques can be used to make a near-perfect copy of memory as it existed before power was cut. Now, back to disk encryption. The computer needs to know the secret key in order to access the disk. When the computer starts, the user normally enters a password to unlock the key, but afterwards, for as long as the computer is running, the key resides in RAM. If a thief accesses the computer and makes a copy of the RAM, he can extract the key and break the encryption even without knowing any passwords. We've created a demonstration attack that defeats the BitLocker disk encryption feature included in some versions of Windows Vista. Our attack is completely automatic. We start with a Windows Vista laptop. The computer is locked, so we normally can't access the disk without a user's password. However, since Windows is running, the disk encryption key must be stored in the computer's RAM. All we need to do is attach an external hard disk or USB memory stick containing our attack software. Then we cut power to the machine by removing its battery. Then we quickly reconnect the battery and turn it back on. On this computer, the memory fades slowly enough that we don't need to cool the memory chips. We've also developed software techniques for correcting errors in the recovered memory even without cooling it. The computer boots from the external hard disk and runs our attack software, which we call Bit Unlocker. First, the software loads a small program that makes a copy of everything in memory. This captures most of the data that was present in RAM when we cut the power. Now, our program has all the time it needs to analyze the data. Next, our attack program searches the recovered memory for secret keys. After finding the keys, we can decrypt the computer's hard disk and access the files. The entire process takes only a few minutes. Whether your computer is at risk depends on what kind of disk encryption you use and what mode your computer is in when an attacker accesses it. Most disk encryption systems can be defeated if the computer is stolen or accessed when it is in sleep mode or at a password-protected screensaver. Windows Vista's BitLocker is also sometimes vulnerable even when the computer is completely off. If a computer running Vista normally starts up to the Windows login or password prompt, it's vulnerable when it's off. If it starts with the black BitLocker pre-boot password screen, it's safe unless it's stolen after you enter this password. Many other disk encryption products are probably vulnerable. We have tested attacks against TrueCrypt and against Apple's FileVault and Linux's dmcrypt. We believe most similar products are also at risk. Visit our website or check with the maker of your disk encryption software to find out how to protect yourself.
Okay, so basically, that's one attack against BitLocker, and the guy that developed that software, his name is Wesley McGrew, so I've met him before. It just basically boots into it. It's like a 1 meg partition, and then there's a second partition that's called Linux 286, and it just collects all the RAM. And there's a lot of tools out there like volatility. Anybody ever heard of that? Allow you to look through RAM and find processes and keys. And I believe there's some tools to find TrueCrypt keys out there as well. So basically, what that says in summary is, if you read these manufacturers' disclaimers, they'll tell you it'll take you 57 million years to crack the encryption. Well, I don't know if I agree with that, but even if it takes that long to break the encryption, if the user uses a simple password in the dictionary, it's not really going to help them. And then, of course, there's always keyloggers, which brings us to the last thing we're going to talk about today, and that's evil maid. Okay? Who's ever heard of evil maid? Okay? And what does evil maid do? You guys remember?
You boot up, it captures whatever you've entered, you install that Linux boot up.
So basically, it's like keylogger software for the TrueCrypt. And basically, what's going to happen is that people will, it will capture the TrueCrypt password. The reason they call evil maid is because basically what happens is that the maid, the scenario goes like this. You're in the hotel, you have TrueCrypt on your drive or whatever. The maid comes in, installs the key logging software. Then that night later on you come back, you do some work or whatever, you put your TrueCrypt password in. The next day she comes back again and she gets your TrueCrypt password. So basically that's the way it works. So let me see if I can show you how this evil maid works. I've done this demo before, it works pretty well. So let's see what happens. Okay, so this is it. It worked, I got lucky today. Except for the last thing, right? So anyway, basically it boots to a small version of Linux, and it says, what do you want to do today? You run evil maid, then you come back later. You run evil maid again, and then it reveals the password for the TrueCrypt volume. So that's how it works. All right, so now let me show you the results of what I did. This is what it looks like. And basically, as you can see down here, I got the password when I came back the next day. Now, what could you do to protect yourself against evil maid? What do you think you could do? Besides not use TrueCrypt or use something. BIOS password, great idea. Can I get around that?
Yes.
Yeah, there's ways to get around the BIOS password, right? There's default passwords, there's manufacturer backdoor passwords, but here's another way to get around your BIOS password. I could get the same exact laptop, put it in my laptop, and go ahead and boot up and do it that way. So yeah, we can get past that. So a couple other things that I wanted to mention here. I know you thought that sticky keys and all that was pretty cool. There's other live CDs out there besides Backtrack. Anybody ever heard of Conboot? Okay, Conboot is another live CD that will basically just bypass any Windows password. Okay, so it lets you log in as any account with no password. And as you can see, it works on very recent versions of Windows. Another one is Offcrack. Offcrack will basically break the passwords right in front of you. I tried it on people's computer I know that gave me permission, and basically, you know, as long as it's something that's pretty, not too long and simple. This is another reason you need to use a good password. The only other problem is, notice this up here, this is a big one. I've seen a lot of users out there that use the same password for Windows as LinkedIn, as Facebook, as MySpace, and that tends to bite them. So don't do that. Have your Windows password be something completely different than all your other passwords. So the best method for an attacker is to have multiple methods, like Conboot, like sticky keys, like Offcrack. Okay? Ways to protect are BitLocker, but it only works on certain versions of Windows. and TrueCrypt. But as we see with Eagle Mate, that's not perfect either. Okay? So, are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Does the hashing, not hashing, but the seed values in Linux and OS X give you better protection than TLM and
Linux and Mac are also vulnerable, especially if you're not using any disk encryption. To get into Linux, they have a run level 1. You can get in a group in a couple seconds. Mac, you just use the install CD and you can change it. So all these products are equally, we don't discriminate hackers, we hack everybody. Yes? Sure. If you want to do that, how do I do that? Pull it up right here. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So close that whole little sidebar job. Right? Okay. See, I'm not a good clicker. Right up here? This? Okay. Other right. Gotcha. Okay. Okay, yeah, we'll send you a link to the videos of people outside of this auditorium. And they were also on the PowerPoint, which I'll submit to you. Yes? I believe that the new version of iPhone is encrypted. The iOS is encrypted. Is that correct? I've heard. I mean, TrueCrypt doesn't yet that I know of, but I'm sure that's coming. But there's always a way. One of the ways that Sean Marcy told me that he got past that you know, the whole password encryption is somebody who would sync their phone to this PC. There's some keys that are put on the phone when you sync it, so he was able to get around that with that. So there's